it's me, Renee. I'm back. And yeah, I haven't been around in a while. It's life happened. I was a bit sick, and yeah. Yeah, I really know you think was a bit sick because I just again have had a wee bit of itchy throat, which yeah, not that fun. I suppose that probably has to do with last week I was spending time with my family, and some of them had a cold, and like when you spend time with your family for like a whole week, usually you all get the cold. I wouldn't say I have like a straight out cold, but I have a not perfect throat. So yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna do this tag because it looked like fun. It is Non-fiction November book tag. It was created this year. So I kind of wanted to do something non-fiction y for Non-fiction November. And I found this, and afterwards I found another one, and then yeah, they're kind of similar, but I kind of like this one, and I believe I've done the other one, and also I mean, there's really that's any two tags are going to be completely different, so yeah. This one is made by the, and now I'm blanking out on the channel name. You know what? I'm gonna check it out. Give me a moment. Yes, the name of the channel is Luna Bird Book Club. I've just found them through this tag, but it looks like a yeah good tag. And the Luna Bird Book Club is a collaboration channel of two British girls. Sorry, British people. I'm not quite sure if they are girls. They might be non-binary. I didn't mention it here, so yeah. And yeah, so let's get to it. And yeah, excuse me if I do a bit of coughing now and then. It might happen. First question. In general, how do you feel about nonfiction? Uh, yeah. Also, side note. I also kind of like how this tag is a bit more like talky about. It's not just like recommend nonfiction, but also talks a bit about nonfiction. So that's fun. But yeah, how do you feel about nonfiction? I used to kind of be on the side that everyone or a lot of people are on that, like thinking that nonfiction equals boring books. But then, well, I suppose my nonfiction journey has been a bit. I suppose in a way depends on how you define it. I would say in a way, because like I mean, as with a lot of people, I had to read some nonfiction in school. So like at least for my school, we didn't really have a lot of assigned reading, but we have like times where like we had times in Norwegian class. From Norway, Norwegian, so we have Norwegian class where we had to like had to, and also yeah, we chose ourselves. We were like doing a project, so you could read a whole series and then talk about write a task about paper about that series. You could do something about an author, up to you. And yeah, so in middle school, I did a project about Agatha Christie. So I read a biography by her, and then I think I also read some. Yeah, I read some also Hercule Poirot stories around the same time. So yeah, did a story about her, or like a thing about her. And then I also read Roald Dahl's biographies, Going Solo with Also Boy. No, wait. Yeah, sorry. I only read Boy because I read Going Solo many years later. But yeah, I very much enjoyed that biography. But then, other than that, I didn't really read any biography for school or like nonfiction for school at all, I would say, until like, well, yeah, until I did my studies, which again, no, I didn't know because in my studies, when I studied, I mostly did textbook. And I suppose, yeah, textbooks are nonfiction. But I suppose when I kind of want to talk about nonfiction, I mainly think about nonfiction, not textbook books, because, well, I suppose that is nonfiction, but that's not really often what you talk about when you talk about nonfiction. You don't really talk about, like, yes, nonfiction, remember, I'm going to read all the textbooks. I mean, when you talk about wanting to read nonfiction, you usually want to read not textbook nonfiction, because that's often what everyone already reads, and you kind of want to read something different. Though I suppose, yeah, I'm not gonna shame people. Like, if you like to read textbooks in your time off, that's up to you. But yeah, as usual, I ramble a bit. But yeah, so yeah, then after that, I kind of didn't really read nonfiction for a long time, and then I picked up. Actually, I picked up a biography about. Now I'm blacking out on the name. Yeah, about Cole Porter. This was, I want to say, yeah, it actually had to be like around 9, maybe 10 years ago actually, because I remember reading it in my cabin, and in the olden days, I had two cabins. My family had two cabins. Now we just have one. And so yeah, and we sold that cabin for like 9 years ago, so it had to be 9, 10, 11 years ago when I read this book. And yeah, I do remember. I mean, I really very much like Cole Porter's books, Cole Porter's songs, but that book was pretty dry. So, I mean, I did not DNF it, but maybe I should have, because yeah, it wasn't that entertaining. It wasn't really engaging, and yeah. So after that, I kind of lost a bit of interest again. I don't really quite remember why I picked that one up. Well, I suppose I just kind of wanted to try it out because I like Cole Porter, I suppose. But yeah, then I kind of just put it aside. Sorry. And then years later, I think actually in 20, I want to say 20, not 20, I want to say in 2020, I think, not 2021. Okay, 2020 or 2021, it was one of those years where the history challenge was kind of a thing. I found it on YouTube, on BookTube, and that was kind of a thing in September where a couple books and some other booktubers decided to like make a challenge. So like, well, challenge slash readathon. It was a readathon. That was what I called it, a challenge. I suppose it's more fun to call it history challenge than a history readathon. I don't know. It was a readathon, and they had prompts, and like it was all based around non-fiction books, based around the historical variety, and yeah, and so I don't quite remember like how I stumbled upon that one, but that one looked fun. And I did have some non-fiction history books like on my TBR and like on my radar. So I thought, hey, you know what? I want to do this. And then yeah, I joined that. I did the history challenge tag. I I did read some of those books. And yeah, I've had like uh, videos connected to that on my channel. And I suppose yeah, after that I kind of fell a bit more in love with non-fiction. And yeah, for a while, it's kind of, for me, non-fiction has been equal like historical, like it's been like things set in the past. But then lately, I also kind of also been reading like some more current historical non-fiction, like for example, and this like might not think about when it's on non-fiction, but yeah, like essay collections, they are non-fiction. I think people often think non-fiction is like a biographies or autobiographies, or like, and that's it, or like dense big tomes about wars and stuff. But yeah, non-fiction books can actually be quite a lot, really. Can be so much different stuff. And yeah, now I would say I read and I enjoy it more than I've had like in earlier years. I still kind of feel like I'm still mostly a fiction person. Though like I often end up like when I check out like what books are coming out like in the next year or so what, because I also like often like to see what's coming out. And I also and I mostly like write down both fiction and non-fiction books. And often non-fiction book kind of ends up not being prioritized by me, but I still kind of look out for what's coming. And like if people do recommend non-fiction books like in videos and text, I'm like, oh cool, I'm gonna write it down. So I would say like I have a lot of non-fiction books on my radar, and that's kind of like they're often just kind of hanging out on my radar, and I don't start them like that, but I do have them like in my peripheral reading interests, so they are there. They're not way out of my comfort zone, like way out of my interest, but they're not the books I pick up straight away. So yeah, that's kind of, I suppose, my history with nonfiction ish for 10 minutes. But yeah, what do you expect from me? I mean, I'm gonna ramble. And this next question is, how often do you read a non-fiction book? Um, well, yeah, not as often as I would like. I suppose more often than others. I don't really like do like a thing where I like try to read non-fiction each month, but I end up like reading like I do non-fiction during like, yeah. Well, if it's a readathon where it's just like a non-fiction book, or if it's like a readathon where like a non-fiction book fits perfectly, then I'll do that. Um, I often do like non-fiction November. I have not read that much non-fiction yet this November, but yeah, I try to read a bit non-fiction November for this month. These last 2 years also been reading non-fiction in September, because that's a month where it happens in here in Norwegian Boksenut, like because non-fiction Norwegian is called sakprosa, so you have sakprosa September. So yeah, and yeah, I've read quite a lot like for that this last September. So yeah, I suppose maybe in a way, yeah, actually maybe I actually read much more Norwegian or like in Norwegian nonfiction this last few years than I've read in English. Yeah, I would say maybe that has been the case. I think so actually. So yeah, and but yeah, if I hear us about someone coming out about a book that's non-fiction, that's by an author, like about some subject I'm interested about, then I pick it up. Like yeah, it's not like I only read non-fiction in November or September. I read whenever, but yeah, I mostly tend to go towards fiction. So yeah, how much, like how often? Well, I would say every other month maybe, or like now and then. I can't really pinpoint it really. And I won't, like some people say like they end up reading like half fiction, half non-fiction. I don't think it's that much for me, but it's not like I read two books, two non-fiction a year. Like I read more than that. Maybe it's more like 10. No, maybe it's more like 20 non-fiction a year. Yeah, I would say maybe around that. But it's not really a specific number really. I kind of want to read some non-fiction every year, and I do that, but I don't really think about a specific number. One moment. I was someone called me, so I had to take the phone. But yeah, how often do I read non-fiction? I don't really have a number. More often than others, seldom than others. So yeah, and as I said, maybe every other month or so, around that. Yeah, a bit of a long name, but yeah. Prompt 3. What do you like in a non-fiction book? For me, I suppose I kind of like the same as I would say that I like in fiction books. I kind of like to read about something interesting. Either it has to be about something I know something about that I want to learn more about, or something I don't really know something about, but I just kind of want to, yeah, open up a new topic for me. That would be interesting. Um, and yeah, a non-fiction book. Sometimes I read, well, sometimes, mostly I read non-fiction books that are kind of fast-paced, my more lighter side and funnier side. I do also read like, I suppose, as I also do in non-fiction reads, like I tend to lean towards the lighter, funnier books. Though yeah, sometimes like if it's a book about racism, of course it can't be like 90% funny because that wouldn't really work. I suppose also depends on like the book also, but like yeah, mostly it's a very heavy topic, so yeah. Um, but yeah, I would say, but yeah, every now and then I do pick up books about racism or war or whatnot, and then those kinds of book has to be a bit darker on the darker side. So yeah, I do kind of tend to pick up non-fiction children's books because often they're like on the thinner side, and it's kind of like fun to like check out one of those. Like if you want to read a book, but you're in a mood for a long book, then you can just pick up a quick shorter read, and yeah, that is fun. So yeah, so that's I suppose that's kind of what I'm looking for in nonfiction, really, as same as I read not in fiction, really. Yeah, interesting topics I don't know about, topics I want to know more about, and yeah, I also look for them in yeah, I suppose to see that more later on. So yeah, next prompt, it is: have you ever bought a book to learn or develop a skill and did it work? I don't really think I have. Well, not precisely, like not specifically. I haven't really. I have, I suppose, I have bought textbooks. I suppose in that way, I have bought books to like the skill for the class. But I think that's probably not what you're asking here, really. Um, I do like, as I mentioned before, yeah, I am Norwegian. I do mostly bookshop in English. I mostly read in English, and because I'm mostly reading English, I like um like just kind of as a byproduct, I learn lots of English words because I read in English. So, and yeah, I suppose I also like if I read nonfiction in English, I would also pick up things like English words for yeah different things to do with that topic, or like things about the English monarchy, or like yeah things about specific English or American things. So yeah, but like I haven't really bought a like how-to book. Like I haven't really learned to knit or something like that through a book. I haven't really done that. Like sometimes I see like books in a store where they talk about like how to be a better runner, or how to be a better footballer. I'm like, would you learn to do that from a book? Shouldn't you have like a class in that, like where you show and then you do it? But I suppose maybe some people learn better by reading. Still, for me, like I learn like words and like but the mind I learn through reading. Like if I'm gonna learn a skill, I'll do a course list. Like I want to someone to show me. I won't read because that's not really how my brain works. So yeah. Sorry. And then we have the next prompt. What is your favorite subgenre of nonfiction? As I said before, I kind of like historical nonfiction. I mean, there's just so much in history. History is so much, and I mean, I've done the history challenge. I've done the history challenge twice, at least once, and yeah, I often lean towards history-focused nonfiction books. I also like historical nonfiction, so yeah, I like history in general. So yeah, that's I also like biographies, specifically non-biographies, but specifically autobiographies. And then I also enjoy, and then I also enjoy the what's the word again? Blah 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 blah. Also, yeah, essay books. So like essay books and like yeah, personal essays or like essays about a topic, whatnot. I yeah quite like those. I like whenever I hear like someone writing an essay book, I'm like yes, give it to me. So like if it's like an essay book about one topic, like a essay book of feminism and there's lots of different writers, or if it's one writer doing like lots of different things on the same topic, essay in general, give it to me. I need it. I need it. So yeah, I love that. Yeah, and that's kind of that really. Sorry. And then next question, I would say it's kind of interesting really. Can a non-fiction be a page turner? And I feel like people often like think non-fiction equals boring or non-fiction equals important and equals can't be like you have to force yourself through it. And yeah, honestly, I would say definitely non-fiction can be page turners. I mean, for once, like for example, if you like to cook, a cookbook is a non-fiction book. I mean, non-fiction is so much. Non-fiction books is a biography, and biographies like often quite a lot of biographies are like big bestsellers. I mean, there are some people who like don't really like to read, but they like to read biographies. So yeah, For me specifically, I would say that sorry, uh, A Bottle of Rum by Wayne Curtis. Definitely page turner for me. This is a historical fiction book, historical non-fiction about the history of rum in 10 cocktails, as it says on the front. It's about piracy, it's about slavery, it's about the Caribbean. Like, it's about so many topics, but it kind of talks about them through rum, like through the history of different rum cocktails. And yeah, I found this randomly in bookstore, and I felt like, huh. Of course, like an above rum, you can immediately think Jack Sparrow, and like, you know what? That looks interesting. Fun cover. I'm gonna buy it. Bought it, read it like a few months later, and loved it so much. I mean, I what's the name again? I liked so much in it, and yeah. So for me, at least, this is definitely a page turner. Then we have We Should Hang Out Sometime by Josh Sundquist. This is a biography about Josh Sundquist's love life. It's about him being a late bloomer, and yeah, definitely also very much love this book. And then we have Ultimate Book of Heroic Failures. Definitely a page turner. It's a non-fiction book about how people are just outstanding and absurd, and so many weird things that's happening in the world. Like, one time there was a election general sorry, there was an election in the US, in a local election, where no one voted. So that's like, what? And yeah, it's just amazing, like amazing facts like those, really. And then we have Disability Visibility, which is an essay collection about, yeah, disabilities, people with disabilities. This one is more on the uh, somber, deeper, important side. Though, I mean, there's levity here and there, but mostly I would say it kind of gives you insight into, like, whoa, the world is screwed up in like the way of how much people get discriminated against. And like, people think that if you can't do X and Y and Z, then you're stupid, which not the point at all. Like, no, no. And yeah, this I would say definitely a big page turner, big recommendation for me. Then we have the next prompt. Yeah. What makes you give up a non-fiction book? I would say two things, really. Two things. Well, yeah. At least, like, um, if a non-fiction book, if it's not really marketed the right way, if like the front says like Second World War, Spain, and then you start reading it, and like mostly it's about Second World War in France, it's like, wow, what? I mean, it wasn't really what you wanted to read. So yeah, if that's kind of something. But I suppose sometimes you can be surprised by a book and still want to read it. But like, often, like when you pick up a book, you kind of want to read that specific book. So yeah. But also, if a non-fiction book is heavier than you thought, like if it's like thick with lots of like no paragraph, and if it's like lots of complicated jargon, and if it's, yeah, just heavy to read, and yeah, I mean, at least I think for me, non-fiction, it has to be easily read, fast-paced. If it's too mumbled up in terminology, and if it's too complicated, you won't really. At least for me, if a book is easily read, you kind of want to read about any topic. But if the book is just difficult to read, you just don't really want to read it, because it's interesting topic, you kind of, but you don't understand what they're trying to tell you. So it's not, yeah, that's, yeah, not really for you anymore, really. Then we have blah, 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 blah. Which do you prefer? Uh, me coughing or not coughing? No. Uh, uh, Biography or autobiography? And can you share a biography or autobiography you recommend? Yeah. With me, I would say I prefer autobiographies because I feel like you go deeper into the person, and like yeah, of course, if it's about someone historical, then I mean you can't get an autobiography. I mean having well, I suppose some people write in their day they like write diaries and stuff, but like you can't find a newer book about Shakespeare written by him because it's been a while. But yeah, but if it's someone living, then I prefer autobiography because yeah, I kind of feel like those are the ones that I've connected to the most. And then I read that Cole Porter biography written about him, not by him, and it didn't really connect to me at all. It was just it kind of felt in a way like a Wikipedia article. And I suppose it's kind of in a way nowadays writing biographies like about celebrities is kind of interesting because a lot of the things that people do that are interesting, they will already have talked about in interviews. Maybe they've written an article about the time that and that happened. So, like, I read a biography 2 or 3 years ago by Adam Hills, and a lot of the things they talked about I already knew because he talked about it in different um in different interviews. So it wasn't like completely new material. Though I suppose some people don't really talk about stuff before they kind of because they want to like save it for their biographies. But yeah, yeah. For the most part, I have enjoyed biographies more than autobiographies than I have biographies. So that's that really. hmm And yeah, as I said, I recommend you check out this book. The also I want to recommend another book because I want to talk about this book. So give me a moment. I found a few, no, yeah, two more biographies. So I have When They Call You a Terrorist by Patrice Khan-Colors and Asa Bandela. So Patrice Khan-Colors is one of the people behind the Black Lives Matter movement. This book came out in 2021, running last year, so a bit late on bandwagon there. But yeah, uh, I would say it's a very gives you very much insight into how it is to be African American in today's society and the racial divide and things like that. It's not a big book at all, but still kind of gives you an insight to it. Like it kind of feels like, at least for me, I feel like sometimes books that are shorter often aren't that good because you just kind of get into a topic or into a story and then boom, it's over. Here, I feel like it tells a story in a quick and good way and you don't really feel like something's missing. So yeah, this book definitely can recommend it. And then we have Word by Word, which I read this year by Corey Stamper. This is both a history about the dictionary in the U.S., but also a biography about Corey Stamper and her life, really in a way, and her love of words and whatnot. So yeah, this is for the nerdy people out there, really. Yes. Let me then see. Then we have blah 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 blah. Whose biography would you really want to read someday? Um. So honestly, I'm not quite sure if this is like a question of like you are you answering like asking a biography that exists that you want to read, or who's the person you want to read, you want to write their biography? Because I feel like it could be both, really. Um. Though honestly, I'm a bit unsure how to answer this because I feel like there's so many interesting people. And also, I feel like a lot of interesting people already have biographies I already have read. Um, but like I do really love biographies, so I suppose just kind of general a biography about someone interesting. And I can't really come about like think about a specific name at this point in time, really. But yeah, someone interesting. I was about to say Malala, but I have read biographies by her. So I suppose she's still kind of dusting, so maybe a recent book by her, like if she writes something new about her recent life. But yeah, just about people being interesting, really. I don't really can't really think of a specific name at the top of my head. As I said before, I might do like an own video of this in the future sometime but right now I'm blank. So yeah. And then we have blah 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 blah. Are there any non-fiction books on your TBR that you're particularly excited about? So yeah, we have The Last Black Unicorn by Tiffany Haddish. It's a biography by her. And I just was kind of curious, so I could just kind of check it out today. It actually came out in 2017. I thought it came out like last year. But yeah, it's a bit of an older read, but still, kind of want to read this one. And then we have Be Awesome by Hadley Freeman. Modern Life from Modern Ladies. I feel like this also seems like a cool, fun book to check out. And then I have started, but just slightly. I haven't really gotten far in it, so I want to finish it. The Untold Story of the Woman Killed by Jack the Ripper by Hallie Rubenhold. Yeah. I wanted to read this non-fiction November. I mean, there's still a week left, but it's a chunker. But maybe I still will. And if not, in the future. So, yeah. And that's all the prompts. I can't decide, you know what? I kind of want to throw in some recommendations because maybe this is your first video by me. Maybe you're just kind of craving some recommendations. And yeah, why not? Give them to you. So yeah, in addition to the ones I already talked about, we have Stamped by Jason Reynolds and Ibram X. Kendi, a story about racism in the US. And yeah, this is the version written for teens. I tried to read the adult version, and it kind of was too complicated for my taste. This one I very much enjoyed, though it is kind of the same story as the other one. It's just kind of shorter, and yeah, I don't really think it's like the context is the same. It's just kind of shorter and more compromised in a way, like more compact. And yeah, definitely recommend this book. And then you have The Theory of Everything Else, which is just like a big chunk of people uh, interviews and whatnot about people and their weird beliefs. It's about people who believe in UFOs, people who believe in ghosts, people who believe in lots of different things really. And it's just a very weird, absurd, good book. And you'll just like stop and just think like, whoa, people are weird. Like when you read this, and yeah, a good book for Halloween, or a good old book I would say for general when you want to read a interesting, different read, really. If you like things that are weird, absurd, quirky, on the bit different side, really, of life. Then we have Ask a Historian by Greg Jenner. Yeah, so Greg Jenner is a British historian, and this is him answering 50 questions he's gotten from different people when he's touring and stuff. And yeah, it's all kinds of different interesting answers to. Well, he breaks myths and he talks about things that people didn't know about and lots of stuff. So I would say, if you like history, if you're curious about history, check out this book. There's something I would say here for everyone. Frequently Asked Questions About the Universe by George Sham and Daniela Whitstone. I like this one. The only thing can't say I love it. But I would say if you're curious and if you like science, this is for you because like it talks about the universe through a science lens. Like it talks about like could you teleport? And then it talks about like through how it would happen through a science lens. So it's not like really like what ifs with magic aspect to it. It's more of like what if with science or science fiction elements to it. So yeah. Another book I've talked about before, but I would always recommend Pride sorry by Tim Tate and LGSM. So this is a story of the real life people who in the 80s they helped people like in the 80s a group of queer people went to Wales to help them strike and to like yeah, protest against strike with them, like the strikers. At first, it's like Welsh miners and queer people from London can that work together, and yes, it can. So it's kind of about outcasts, underdogs coming together and fighting in the man, and yeah, definitely a very interesting, good book. Feel good, I would say, in a way, really. And then we have A Difficult Woman, a history of feminism in 11 fights. And yeah, this is a book by feminist people. It's interviews with them. It's it is yeah, it's biographies about the 11 different people, and it's people who have made a difference for feminism, but it's not people who are cookie cutters. People, I mean, it's people that in some ways have gone against the status quo, not just like for feminism, but like for in general. So it's kind of like shows you like how to be feminism, to be feminist isn't to be a perfect feminist. It's kind of bad feminist in a way, like people who believe uh believe in the right for women, but they don't believe the right for them people. Like yeah, how people are complex and whatnot. And yeah, definitely smart and thoughtful and rich, as God the Guardian said. And yeah, now I'm feeling my throat again is coming, and I kind of feeling a bit like a bad headache is coming on. So yeah, I'm gonna stop it there and say that I will see you when I see you. And if you enjoyed this book's talk about, fun. If you have a non-fiction recommendation to talk about to me about, fun. And I'll see you soon. And yeah, as usual, I just gonna tag everyone. I mean, it's a month. It's a month. It's a week left on Non-fiction November. That was you can do this whenever. So yeah, bye.